is there other reasons why women really would oppose this structure?
Well, I think another reason, the further, there's like a couple things coming to my mind. The further we come away from the truth of what God says about us, the more confusing it's going to get. And then the more less understanding there's going to be about who said that there has to be a structure. You know what I mean? Like the structure comes from the word of God.
Right.
Okay. So if there's no word of God, if you don't care about that, there's no structure.
Right.
So anything goes.
All you can do then in that circumstance is go back to my previous point, is learn.
Right.
From evidence.
Right.
If you see a successful marriage or a successful relationship, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Dig into how their relationship is built. That you have to look at an architect has to look at the blueprints of how, the Empire State Building was built if they want to build their own skyscraper.
That's a really good point. Like look back in the past of women who have been successful or couples who have been successful, and how did, what was the surrounding things around that to figure it out?
I think something that's really important, just to stay on that line for 1 second, is when you're looking at the past of the most successful women, what you'll find is there was a successful marriage. You look at a lot of the really successful political leaders nowadays. There's a really, I know a couple examples of women that are in politics that have a very strong husband that's basically their assistant. That's their kind of campaign manager. That's their, support system for this endeavor.
Right.
And so there the roles are reversed in one way, in the professional life, but there's still that same structure that we're talking about that just exists in a slightly different way for that purpose.
And that's usually, not always, but that's usually the way it is when it's the other way too. Usually very successful men have, even if it's not a marriage relationship, have a strong support of a female in their life.
Yeah. And that's really the key to what we're talking about is that support system. You have to have that in a relationship if either person is going to pursue something, anything in life. You got to have that support system. And what I've really seen is without that, I'm not going to get into that because I don't know the evidence of that too well. So I'm not going to get in there, but basically I just want to, stress this, the way that this structure really helps make people successful.
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
And there's now I don't have as many examples in the back of my head for this one, but I can think of a few examples of even single women who have been successful have usually done it in a very respectful manner, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like they did awesome things mostly out of like hard work and perseverance. And they've done great things.
Yeah.
And I just say that because like I think that's important. Hard work and perseverance. Like if you want to do something great as a woman, like that's the way to go about it.
Yeah.
Like it's in a respectful way.
I remember what I was going to say. A lot of times what you'll see, and this could lead to another discussion, is the women that I was talking about in politics or in some type of business leadership position that have a strong husband that's really supporting them in that endeavor. They're not pursuing children at that time. Most of those women don't have children, not until later in life.
Right.
That's not the path for a lot of women. That's not the desire of a lot of women.
Right.
You thought that was your desire coming into our marriage.
And there is a lot of backstory behind that too.
Yeah. I mean, we discuss that all the time like going into marriage, like you thought you were going at that time, you made more money than me.
Mm-hmm.
And you thought, I'm going to work full time. I'm going to kind of be the grounding for us to pay our mortgage and, whatever. And then things changed.
Yeah.
And then we got pregnant. You got pregnant. I don't like when you say we. I didn't do anything. Very little. But you got pregnant, you had your first kid, and you said, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
That changed the whole structure.
Mm-hmm.
You said to me, you better get a better job. Essentially.
Yeah.
Essentially. And so I did. And so that structure is malleable for the ability of that relationship or marriage to be successful. We shifted so that I went and I got a better job. I made sure that I could provide that financial structure for our family, and you desired to be a mother,
right?
And to pursue that and with all you had.
Yep.
And we made it work.
Mm-hmm.
So this structure that we're talking about is malleable. It shifts,
right?
But that the foundations don't shift.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that support system. You have to have that self-sacrificial love from both parties involved in that relationship. And you have to have that helper portion be there.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from being self-sacrificial in your love.
Right.
Honestly. I think the helper thing, people get hung up on that. And I'm like, you don't want to help your spouse?
Right.
Why are you in a relationship?
Right. And just to say real quick, because I just read this today in John, Jesus calls the Holy Spirit the helper.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to send the helper to you. So, I mean, people who read the Bible will only get that. But basically what we're saying is one of the three of God, they're calling a helper.
Mm-hmm.
So does that make him any less God?
Right.
No.
Right.
So
yeah.
I just thought that was interesting.
But it's fascinating to me to watch, because I do see it, and I especially see it with young people. Whenever these types of conversations come up, they immediately default to some of the feminist narratives of, oh, a man's not going to tell me what to do. Oh, man's not going to be over me.
Right.
I'm going to be in control. I'm going to dominate.
Right. Which can I stop you there? Yeah. Okay. So I understand that.
Sure.
But if we just take a step back and listen to what you just said there. So a woman is saying, he's not going to tell me what to do. So, okay, then who is going to lead in this relationship?
Right. No one.
No one is. And it's going to be a mess. And I'm not trying to be like devil's advocate here. I'm just saying, like, there is a structure put on it because it's beneficial for us and it works.
Right.
Like, you can't.
It's beneficial for both parties.
It's beneficial for both parties. For both parties. Because if you're not willing to be led, then are you going to lead your husband? I mean, I don't think he wasn't built for that.
No.
Maybe he'll follow you, but then you have to take on all those responsibilities. I don't believe that is biblical, but it's not going to work out well. You're going to smash your husband's everything that he was made to do, to protect and provide and lead you. He's just going to be like a bum in a corner, which you hate. And you're going to have to make all the decisions and hold all the weight.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. But that's what we find a lot of times. And to keep it within the bounds of marriage right now, respect is a huge, 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 huge thing that men need from the people that they love the most.
Yeah.
Especially their spouses, even from their close friends, even from their family members. They need respect.
So can I ask you a question then?
Sure.
This is interesting. Okay, so how do you feel? Like, let's keep it personal.
Okay.
Let's just say that I said that sort of thing to you. That I was like, you can't lead me at all. I will fight you at everything. Because maybe I'm being dramatic here, but
Not really. I've heard of it.
Like you can't tell me to do anything. I'm going to tell you what to do and you better do it. Like how does that feel respectful wise? Because I will say that women are bad at this. Yeah. I am bad at this. I'm learning what being respectful means. I want to be that,
right?
But I struggle. It doesn't make as much sense to me. So how does that kind of language or actions feel to you respect wise?
Bad. No. It's hard to kind of put myself in that framework because you don't do that to me. So I'm trying to like put myself in the framework of if I had, it's so hard because I wouldn't have a woman say that to me because I know of what I'm giving of myself. And it's so disrespectful to put that aside for your personal gains, for your personal, I don't know, need to lead. It's difficult to kind of put myself in that framework or in those shoes. I definitely think if that conversation happened, and it's never really happened in our marriage, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I know I would be hurt. Like I said before, I think I would be mostly hurt. And it's really hard to come back from that hurt and not have that hurt turn to resentment. And resentment's probably one of the biggest killers of marriage. Because if I had no role, because you just wanted to kind of take the reins of parenting, if you wanted to take the reins of our marriage, if you wanted to take the reins of our finances, and left me not being able to engage at all, I would just feel resentful.
Yeah.
That I played no part in this.
Yeah.
And I think I think we're really kind of touching on something that happens in a lot of marriages. There is a lot of resentment. And I think there's a lot of resentment too, to bring it back to the women, on men that try to take all the reins too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think it's resentment that kind of fuels the desire for women to say, enough, I'm going to do something around here.
Right.
And then
that's a good point.
The totality comes in and we're like, I'm going to do everything around here.
Right. Especially if you think that the person that's supposed to be leading you isn't doing everything they should be doing. Especially
in an unhealthy relationship, if let's say the man is in charge of the finances, or at least in charge of kind of making the money for the family, and he uses that as a club.
Oh, yeah.
In the relationship.
Yeah, that's not good.
You know, and he comes home and he's like, I'm going to go out with my friends, or I'm going to do this, or we're going to do this. We're going to buy this because I make the money around here.
Right. So she has no say.
Now, that's only one aspect of the marriage. But if the woman gets resentful of that, well, then maybe she's like, well, I do everything around the house.
Right. Right.
I'm raising our kids.
And then we're keeping tally now. Yeah.
Right. We're keeping tally. And we've talked about that in the past too with marriage. You don't keep record of wrongs.
Yeah.
That's a biblical point, but like that is so necessary in a relationship so that you don't become resentful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a big one. Definitely. And what I've actually seen, and this is just kind of more evidence of this resentment that I see happen a lot, is I've seen, usually it was men that felt disrespected by women. What I've seen happen in 2021, I just heard it in a podcast the other day, a lot more women are kind of crying, I'm not getting respect. It used to be like men just, no one respects me.
Right.
But I've started to hear more and more women like, hey, I'm out here grinding. I'm out here working hard. I'm out here, keeping up with the men. Where's my respect?
Right.
Where's my respect?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just I don't really know what to make of that because it's so new and I just started really thinking about it. But I found it interesting. It stood out to me.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know what to make of that.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. Like, once again, kind of like what you said, but I feel very respected in our marriage. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have like a lot of personal experience to kind of say that, but I can see that. Like, I appreciate that you honor and respect the work that I do here, especially because I'm actually self-conscious of that a lot because like, I know the house is a mess most of the time, but I also know that like I'm doing a lot of stuff but it's not things that you can visibly see. And so I think that respect is a big deal because women respecting men and men respecting women in just what we do as we give our 100%, because it's easy to become resentful or think that they should be doing more. Without that respect. So,
and that's an interesting point that you bring up with how you feel. You feel self-conscious about the work that you're doing, and it's work. Mm-hmm. You do a lot of work around the house. And right now with my full-time job, I'm teleworking. So I get to see all of the work and all of the craziness that you have to deal with the children,
But with that said, sorry to interrupt you, but like, I think we do become self-conscious because the culture tells us, or at least it tells women, that we should be able to keep it all together, first of all, and that we probably should also have a full-time job because good, strong women have full-time jobs, which, don't get me wrong, you have to be a strong woman to have a full-time job and have kids and a house. Like, so I'm not putting that down at all because I respect that and I think that is amazing. But it tends to look down on those who like are at home more.
Yeah.
And you feel almost like a little bit less than because you're not out there working a full-time job, and you feel like, oh, well, maybe this isn't like enough, which is a lie. And so, but I believed that lie in the beginning. That's why I wanted to work full-time, because I thought that would give me more value. When we first got married, I didn't really want to do that, but I was like, I can.
Right.
And I would make a lot.
Maybe if I can, I should.
Maybe if I can, I should. And my husband will probably love me more. And of course, I never told you to this, but my husband will probably love me more and think that I'm a better woman because I do this. And he's expecting this of me because the culture expects this of me.
Wow.
And then you have a kid and then you're like a little rocked. Not all women, women, but I find a majority are kind of like, wait, someone's going to take care of my baby.
Right.
I don't really want it to be anyone else but me.
Yeah.
And so that's really hard. And I just have to say this too. That's really hard for women who don't want to go back to work full time, but they have to. Right. So that's something that makes me upset about the way we've built our culture on the way we look at women, because we've devalued their position at home so much now that like you almost have to have both people working to support your family and your house.
Yeah.
And that makes me sad because
almost.
It's hard.
I think there's also a lot of other factors that the world, our current American culture sort of places on us, that we have to have a certain type of house.
Oh, that's a good point.
Or certain type of cars, or a certain type of fill in the blank of what your type of thing is.
That's true.
And that does require two people to be working. Daycare is expensive too.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to make that decision that both parties want to work, well, we're going to have to pay for the best daycare.
Yeah.
We don't want a crappy daycare.
Yep.
So
that's a good point.
You do kind of get stuck in this. Well, we got to have a nice house because people are going to respect us more.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we have a nice house, or people are going to respect us more with the cars we drive. And
right.
So then again, it goes back to kind of this
looking good for the culture.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Before we get too far from what you were saying, I find it interesting because everybody knows this. The rise in single motherhood in our country is out of control. And it's not a racial thing. It's terrible in all cultures. It's terrible in any race, any suburbs, urban. It doesn't really matter now. Single motherhood it just permeates all of our culture right now.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's sad for the kids because they're really losing out on upbringing. And it's and as you do see with a lot of generational single motherhood, you kind of know it's coming because of the lack of two parents in the household.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be safe, but I think it stems from a lot of the things that we've been discussing, where women think they need to be this or do this or have this man, or all of these things that are sort of placed on them, like was placed on you early on, and what was in your mind. And that's not the structure that's going to keep that man or attract the right man into that relationship.
Yeah.
A lot of these women now that are single motherhoods, the man that impregnated them came from a single mother household or grandparent household. There's a lot of that. No parent household, you know? So it's just very cyclical in its formation. And yeah, it's just so sad.
Yeah,
it's just so sad to me, and like that's why I want to talk about it and provide any advice for a means of change. And this change, we provided a structure that works and that has worked in the past, is currently working, and will work into the future.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't believe in the Bible is a philosophical understanding of how to live life.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So you don't even have to, there are plenty of people that have read the Bible and have gained philosophical wisdom from the pages of it.
Right.
And yeah, it's just to just completely say, well, I'm not a Christian. Well, I don't believe in the whole thing, you know, so I'm not going to take any of the parts that are good.
Right.
Even though if you were actually honest with yourself and sit and like look at your life, you're doing a lot of the biblical principles in there.
Right.
You just don't call them biblical principles anymore. You follow the 10 Commandments, hopefully. Hopefully you're not killing people. Hopefully you're not, you know, lusting after your neighbor's spouse.
Right.
And acting on it. You know, hopefully you're all of them. But then there's these principles that we've discussed of just something that our founding fathers put into the Declaration of Independence. We were all created equal.
Yeah.
That is in the beginning, God created man and woman in God's image. Man and woman, he created them.
Yeah.
And they were very good.
Yeah. That solves so many problems.
It really is the core. If you can understand your value, that you were created in the divine.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to picture it.
Yeah.
That's what you were created in.
Yeah.
That's an incredible, liberating thing.
Yeah.
Concept.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like, that's such a powerful concept, because if you bring everything back to that first truth and idea, I mean, going from there will help you figure out your next step. Right. You know, if you feel like you're struggling to know like why it is you feel a certain way, or if this is a good choice, or why are you making this choice? Is it first based in that truth? Because if it's not, then it's going to be messy.
Honestly, that first truth is what will deal with your feelings of being disrespected. It'll deal with your feelings of resentment.
It'll deal with your desire to feel like you need to do more in order to be valued at the same level, or it'll stop you from trying to be better than.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? You just watched a clip from one of our Just Breathing podcasts. If you want to see the full version, you just hit the link in the description below. Or if you want to just keep watching clips, we got some more right here. Thanks, everybody.